Well, that was quite the show on a Monday afternoon, was it not? Highly visible, but it does not appear to be a highly destructive landspout tornado. Could be seen from the north side of the metro area clear up into Weld County, where it was on the ground near Firestone. John Cusmano with one of the many views that we had. If it seems like everybody saw this today, if you were north of a certain point north of Denver, you probably did see this tornado, which was on the ground for a good period of time near Firestone, near County Roads 19 and 28. We have not seen any damage reports come in at this point, which is suggestive of the type of tornado that our meteorologist told you it was from the start, landspout tornado. So Danielle, when we talk about these landspout tornadoes, you see them more kind of in Colorado than you do through a lot of like the Midwest or Oklahoma. They can do some damage, right? But they're just simply not the same type of tornado where you really have the motion.
Precisely. Radar, and really nothing was out of the ordinary. It looked like a quick little rain shower passing into southwestern Weld County. That's a very good indication of a landspout tornado, just because it forms in those initial stages. We get converging winds. So you had winds coming in from the north, winds coming in from the south, and then you get that rotation on the ground, and that's exactly what we saw. The winds usually aren't quite as strong in landspout tornadoes, and yes, the damage not quite as severe as when we have a tornado that it's produced from a rotating updraft within a severe storm. So this is what we're looking at on HD Doppler 9 right now. I've been checking in to see if the Weather Service is going to extend the tornado warning. Still haven't seen an update on that just yet, but I can tell you that this cell certainly looks to have weakened quite a bit from what we were staring at just about an hour ago. I want to show you this quick loop because it started off as just a quick little cell and then blossomed into that landspout tornado, not only bringing the rotation to it, but also a lot of lightning out there, some heavy rain, and of course hail too. This might be actually even a better shot for you to help explain what a landspout tornado is. Again, it forms in the very beginning of a storm, so very indicative of what we saw on radar. As we look at those winds converging at the surface, and then we get that rope coming down, it almost looked like a dust tube, and so many of you have been sending us in these photos of what it looked like in that beginning stage around 5:15, 5:20. Extremely indicative of a landspout tornado. Got a bit strong there as it was whipping around just to the west of Highway 85. It's continuing to slowly make its march to the north, dropping some huge hail and a lot of lightning. But right now we're still keeping a close eye on the fact that it could potentially drop another tornado. Again, the tornado warning continuing, I believe, until 6 o'clock. Here we are just past, checking in with the Weather Service, and it doesn't look like they have made a decision quite yet if they're going, there we go, just like that. It does look like, Kyle, the National Weather Service has removed the tornado warning, as it does appear that this cell is weakening just a bit. But still, if you live in the area, there's potential out there for some rotation, especially around Johnstown through Milliken. Huge heavy hail, so being inside the best spot you can be at this hour, especially with all the lightning that is coming through. So kind of keep that in mind. Folks that do live in the area, still a somewhat dangerous situation. Now that the tornado warning has expired, that at least is nice to see. But heavy rain, a lot of lightning, and hail certainly could be problematic. I kind of sliced this storm in half. I was showing you during our 5 o'clock hour, because it still is extremely impressive when you look at just how tall the storm is. This is about 40,000 feet. You think about a jet flying 30, 35,000 feet when you're heading in toward DIA. This storm has even more energy to it. It is towering more than 40,000 feet high. So again, just indicative that we have still a fairly active situation going on, Kyle, even though that tornado warning has since expired. But it does look like the rotation has subsided, at least for the moment. My eyes are glued to the radar, so I'll pop in if I see anything else.
Yeah, one crept up on us today. Weld County Sheriff's Department emergency managers, they are out there right now taking a look around for damage. The only damage reports they have at this point is that there was a house fire that was linked to a downed power line. pole came down in the winds, fire started. They aren't even describing the level of damage to that house, but that's something that happened along the way. The fact that they are not deluged with damage reports indicate that it was weak at ground level, and obviously we'll hear back from Danielle if a threat should reemerge from that cell. National Weather Service Boulder does not think that that is likely. So all over northern Colorado and Weld County now, people are kind of emerging to go, oh, what was that, and what kind of situation do we have now? Kelly Rinke from our team joins us now from up in the Longmont area. And Kelly, everybody saw it in the sky, but have you seen anything amiss in the ground?
Well, Kyle, when I was driving up to the Longmont area for an unrelated story, you know, it's clear skies, it was hot, driving on the highway, and then I look over to my right and I see what looks like the bottom of a tornado. I worked in Indianapolis for a couple of years, so I've covered tornadoes there, but I've never actually seen one form. So as you can imagine, there's probably a lot of people like me here in Colorado. And so when you're driving on this highway, you start to see this tunnel, this skinny tail that's coming from the ground all the way to the sky. So the traffic starts to slow down. People are pulling off on the highway, trying to take a picture or two. And, you know, I saw it for a couple of minutes and then it seemed to go away. And then I ended up parking here in Longmont. But I just want to show you what the weather looks like here in the Longmont area. So you can see some of the dark skies that's over to my east. But it's really interesting because then you look behind me and then it's clear skies and blue skies. It's been pretty calm since I've been here for the last 30 minutes, but we're starting to see the wind pick up. But yeah, it was pretty incredible. So glad to hear that we aren't hearing too many reports of damage, but pretty impressive to actually see that tornado form.
He reporting for us up in Longmont. Kelly, thank you very much. National Weather Service just came out with their first initial track on where this thing was actually on the ground, despite the fact that it could be seen so far away. They say that it touched down north of Frederick and went out west of Platteville. That was the confirmed track, at least initially, of this landspout tornado. All right. Everybody's good, or so it would appear. We are going to take a quick breather, and when we come back, other news. So there's a national debate these days about what constitutes transportation, how we should spend our money on it. You got Congress and the Biden administration fighting over what should be included in a federal transportation bill. The definition is also a little loose at the state level. The transportation bill, billions of dollars worth, that Democratic Governor Jared Polis is about to sign, it adds a number of new fees. Home delivery service fee, every Uber and Lyft ride will have a new fee, and about 40% of the new money we're paying will not get us one new road or one new bridge. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger breaks down where our money is actually going.
We've explained how under Colorado's new transportation bill, you'll be paying 27 cents more for every delivery and 30 cents more for every ride share. Though if your Uber or Lyft is an electric vehicle, that 30-cent fee is cut in half. But where in transportation is that money going to be spent? Depends on your definition of transportation.
Like most people, it's roads, bridges, and things that get people moving.
Jesse Mallory of Americans for Prosperity has what you might call the traditional definition, perhaps where you think transportation fees will go.
People want to see their money go to roads. They want to see it to go to things that are going to help them to get from point A to point B.
I think there's an increased awareness that transportation doesn't just include gas-powered cars. We need to rethink the way we get around.
Hannah Colazzo from Environment Colorado has a different take on transportation spending.
We all need a way to get from point A to point B. We have to ensure that it does not contribute to bad air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions.
Which brings us to where the new transportation fee money will be spent. More than half of your new 27-cent delivery fees will fund projects that will not build a new road or lay any asphalt. For example, the Community Access Enterprise fee is expected to bring in $41 million in the first 2 years. That will fund the adoption of electric vehicles. The money will be spent on providing grants or rebates to fund electric vehicle charging stations and incentivize the use of electric vehicles and to provide alternatives like electric-assisted bikes and scooters. The Clean Fleet Enterprise fee is estimated to generate nearly $37 million in the first 2 years and will also fund electric vehicle usage and use money to reduce health disparities in disproportionately impacted communities. 2 other new fees that you'll be paying will be spent on reducing air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. In all, in the first 2 years, $116 million out of $313 million, or 37% of the new fees, will go toward electrifying vehicles and mitigating air pollution. The electric vehicle owners don't get off easy in this legislation. Electric vehicle registrations will go up over time in this bill, which will be signed by the governor at some point over the next few weeks. It's also the same bill, Kyle, that adds a new fee at the gas pump, and a good chunk of that money is supposed to go to roads and bridges and asphalt.
Marshall, do you see the tornado today?
I saw something about a tornado today. I've been watching 9 News.
But you didn't see it yourself. Okay, we have nothing to talk about. All right, thank you, Marshall. Colorado got a taste of what international soccer looks like last night. Thrilling game, U.S. win, and ugly hate from some fans in the stands. You had the homophobic chants, your bottles thrown at players, your fans arrested and ejected. Mark Salinger, who probably did not see the tornado as well, looks at whether any of that nastiness might prevent Denver from starring on the soccer stage again.
A final between the U.S. and Mexico
as the U.S. win
left the sound of soccer bouncing around Denver.
You know, I think we're a global city, right? And if we're a global city, we need to be hosting World Cup.
Last night's Nations League final was a big game, but it's nothing compared to a World Cup match. The eyes of the world were watching Denver to see if the city is ready.
Passionate fans at a really nice world-class facility.
Matthew Payne is the executive director of the Denver Sports Commission, vying to have Denver host a 2026 World Cup game. The city is one of 17 candidates across the country in line to host a match when the tournament is held in North America. Only 10 will be chosen. Think of last night as a tryout for the real thing.
I think it showcased Denver for what we can do for big events, packing stadiums and allowing people to, you know, walk to your stadium, walk to your restaurants, from the hotel.
And again, the projectiles flying.
Fans chanting slurs and throwing bottles at players didn't exactly help the cause. Payne says FIFA will make its decision based on passionate fan bases and existing infrastructure.
I don't think that'll hamper our bid at all. I think that match last night kind of had it all, right?
Denver's had some experience hosting big events that could help roll the ball in our direction. The DNC in 2008 brought thousands of people from around the country to Denver. Mile High Stadium, or whatever it was called back then, hosted the big speeches. 5 years from now, the city hopes a World Cup game will bounce on into the stadium. 5 fans were arrested yesterday, 4 for trespassing, 1 for throwing projectiles at the U.S. men's national team, injuring one of those players. That fan has been banned for the rest of his life here at Empower Field. Kyle, no, I did not see the tornado.
Oh, that's a shame. It was quite the talker today. Obviously, Mark, whenever a city gets a shot at a big event like this, one of the things that they are quick to say is, it went great, let's do it again.
Yeah, and Denver has hosted a lot of these big events. Of course, back in the 1970s, they were awarded the Olympics and then said, no, we don't want it, famously. They say that this is very different than the Olympics. This is just one stadium, one sport. That's all they have to take care of. They say if they wanted to, they could be ready to host it tomorrow.
All right, Mark Salinger reporting from the Wild Winds of the West Side. Thank you. Hey, something came in the mail for you recently. These popsicle stick bookmarks that are decorated as various superheroes. A gift for you from Miss Odom's 3rd grade class at Winograd K-8 school in Greeley. On the back of the bookmarks, they say, "Thank you for serving our community. You are a hero." Students included you, next viewers, in their Heroes and Helpers project because it was you who paid off their school lunch debt through your Word of Thanks microgiving campaign last fall. Miss Odom, their teacher, included a note that concludes, "When kids feel cared for by their community, they think of the best ways to give back." Today, we wrap up the 1st anniversary Word of Thanks campaign, where you have raised $100,000 for Warren Village, which supports single parents and their children with housing, childcare, and career coaching. And today, your giving for the first year of Word of Thanks topped $4 million. Generosity ripples out from where it starts. What you have done, pooling your $5 donations each week, that is just the beginning of the good that you've done for our state. To paraphrase Miss Odom, when Coloradans feel cared for by their community, they think of the best ways to give back.
I knew this belonged to somebody and was still special to them.
A gust of wind leaves a piece of an old love story in the hands of a stranger.
And just that gravity of that made me compelled to try to have to find the person that lost it.
A decades-old letter, and the man determined to return it to, well, that's where he could use some help. Next.
Pinkerton will no longer be able to provide private security guards in the city of Denver. The city revoked the company's license following the fatal shooting last October that involved an unlicensed security guard Pinkerton had contracted to protect a 9 News crew. Security company had tried to argue that its subcontractor, Isborne Security Services, that they were the ones responsible for hiring Matthew Doloff. Doloff is facing secondary murder charges for shooting and killing 49-year-old Lee Keltner during dueling rallies in downtown Denver. Doloff was contracted through Pinkerton by 9 News to provide security for journalists covering those events. The city's decision noted that Pinkerton did not make sure that the subcontractor it was using complied with license laws, and that Pinkerton knew that Isborne Security had no internal controls or auditing processes to ensure compliance, but used them anyway. This is the 7th private security company to have its license revoked by the city of Denver in the last 6 years. For context, there are 215 of those security licenses active. A letter important enough to get folded and tucked into a wallet or a purse for years, that is a pretty important letter. One such letter lost almost 40 years later is certainly worth returning. Our Byron Reed has the story.
So this is my trike, my big yellow trike.
The word devotion holds a special meaning.
People see me going around all the time on it.
To Denver cyclist Derek Medina.
Yes, I'd say so. I've been at my job for 20 years, been married for 20-some years.
So when he found a letter along a bike path at 13th and Harlan,
it's dated 1981, February 16th.
He says he knew it was special to someone and wanted to get it back to them.
Just that gravity of that made me compelled to try to have to find the person that lost it. Dear Tina.
Medina says the letter's from a guy named Adam to a girl named Tina.
What kind of tennis shoes do you have?
He believes both were teenagers at the time, and one of them kept it for 40 years.
So there's a really sweet moments in there. Even though we only hear the one voice, you can almost feel the connection that they have there.
He knows it'll be tough narrowing down exactly who Tina and Adam are, but says he's committed to finding them.
Now, I have also made signs that are up all along the bike path in that area where I found it. I stopped there. I talked to people that were camping there, people that are doing the gardening there. Then we could say whatever we want and dedicate songs, etc.
Medina hopes his dedication pays off.
It seems like it has so much meaning to somebody.
So this letter can finally make it back home.
And I know if I had something like that, that it was so meaningful, I'd really want somebody to do every effort they could.
For Next, I'm Byron Reed.
Medina says he's gone around and hung up signs in the area. He's posted about it on social media. So the search continues for a Tina and Adam who, never know, might still be together. It's a sign that you should take the stairs. Quick, before the elevator door closes. Get out of the elevator. That and your feedback next. It's a sign that I should have memorized this script before I walked up to the front of the studio to try and tell you about this story. Next viewer, Brian, spotted this the other day. Elevator is making some weird noises. Use at your own risk. Sign was in the elevator. I'm not an elevatorologist, but maybe that sign would be better on the outside of the elevator so it's not a race for you to escape it before you figure out why it's making some weird noises. Just a thought. Send us the signs you see next at 9news.com. Paul was not enjoying tonight's coverage of the tornado, wrote, "Put on Lester Holt." That was before this program. "Stop thinking your local chat is more important than national programming." Paul, I certainly get your frustration. Of course, not everybody turns on the TV at the same time. And if there's a tornado on the ground within our viewing area, we have an obligation to tell people about it. Judy says, "I'm starting to hate those tornado pictures the way you hate snow-covered patio photos." That's some deep hate, Judy. See you next time.